So I can move on for a long time because that was my training.
Awesome. All right, let's get started.
Hi guys, so I'm Suresh and is Jay. So today we'll be talking about how we can use virtual humans to increase our willingness to disclose information. So this is specifically important in cases where we're dealing with people with mental issues and health problems, and they're trying to conversate with their doctors, say. And like people are often hesitant to like disclose their personal information, even to their doctors. So they might end up not giving proper information, or they might even lie. So we are trying to find if there is any other way to eliminate this through virtual humans. So there are two aspects to this. One is the rapport, and the other one is anonymity. So we need like for every good conversation to lead to good transfer of personal information, we need good rapport. So like you would never give your personal information to people whom you don't know well, or who doesn't have a good rapport with you, right? So rapport is very important in this case. The other aspect is anonymity. So only when people feel that their identity is protected, like they'll share their personal information with you. Else people don't. Like it's just like how Joker says in Dark Knight, give a man a mask, he'll become his true self. So like if there is no anonymity, like obviously you wouldn't give your personal info. Like if you have ever been to Reddit, you know like how mean people can be on Reddit because it's anonymous. So I'd like to call this as a rapport anonymity trade-off, because there is a trade-off between this. Wherever you involve some human into this aspect, there is good rapport, there can be good rapport, but there is, the anonymity is common. But if you have a system, say computer-aided interviews or something, there is anonymity but the rapport is gone. So there is a trade-off between these two, right? So it's pretty hard to build a system where there is good rapport as well as there is anonymity. So how do we solve this? So like just from the title you guys know. So virtual humans to the rescue. So what virtual humans can do is it can bring both of them together. It can have both the human-like interface which builds good rapport, and it can also be anonymous because it's just a computer. So people will be like, okay, it's just a computer, I can share whatever I want, and there's a good rapport as well.
So what do you guys think is important to build rapport in the virtual human? Can I just put, I don't know, a Pokemon or something instead? Can that build rapport? What does it have to do? Like, what are qualities that you need?
Have some features which are human-like.
Like?
Back channels.
Back
Back
channels?
channels, yeah. And like we discussed in the lecture, like leaning forward, leaning backwards, just not like pillows.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have that in there, but like, can you also go too far? Like, right? So you make the virtual human too human, right?
And we're still at Uncanny Valley. We didn't pass the Uncanny Valley. So
Yeah.
we're
So
at a threshold, and it still feels awkward.
yeah. You might
It would
what
be
is
interesting.
doing is when she's responding like, yeah. So that's, the virtual human has to do that, but not at the cost of doing it too much, where the human will feel that it's just programmed to do that and it's probably not understanding me at all. So that's the breaking point where it considers the human probably feels there's no rapport anymore at all.
Yeah. Or when it gets too good, the anonymity is going away again because you feel like, whoa, this is like judging me again.
So the whole point of using virtual humans will be lost in that.
Right.
So yeah, I was going to talk about that as well. So there are verbal and non-verbal aspects to this, right? So like the virtual human will possess, like supposed to possess good amount of these two. Like what do you guys think of the, like I've listed some of them here, but what are the non-verbal aspects which the virtual human should have? Like smiles, head nods. Like apart from that, what else you can think of?
Gaze.
Looking at the speaker and how long is it looking, and then giving that body postural mimicry itself, like leaning forward as he said.
Yeah, that's correct. So we need like human-like features, like non-verbal aspects to it, and like whatever you guys added, that is also pretty important. And there is a verbal aspects to it as well. Like one of them said, like yeah. So adding such things, including that, like expression of empathy. It's like, oh yeah, that's sad, or like it sort of brings the good rapport, right? So you feel that virtual human is actually caring for you, but it doesn't.
Does it have to do anything else with the personality that we do not kind of decipher from virtual humans? Because they don't have anything that is really idiosyncratic. So we cannot segregate them into this is Joy and this is somebody else, because they all do more or less the same thing. There's
Right.
very little personality.
Yeah.
Unless you personalize. Well,
Yeah. So,
a couple of studies, right? Virtual audience will have personalities. But these studies were done earlier.
yeah.
Would it depend on the way we basically like? It will be like our role in building their personality basically, because in case of Simsi we saw that lady has that that behavioral thing of a psychologist kind of a person. So you have that vibe from the
Right.
that feature of hers is like, okay, she is some kind of a psychologist person who is trying to analyze and talking to you kind of. And in the other video, it's like the person is like more of a mimicry kind, mimicking you, and he seems to be like a friendly kind of. So it mainly like the way we did to characterize them kind of.
Yeah, I think there's not much in like different there's some work on like virtual humans with different personalities. We are at ICT. There's a group also around Jonathan Gratch. They're investigating like negotiation patterns when you have a virtual human that smiles at you when they cheated or when they stole money from you in a negotiation game, and virtual humans that feel remorse about that, they should like, oh, I'm sorry. So there's different kind of reactions to those virtual humans. So like we attribute personalities and like deviant behavior to them, and like we want to change, or we want to like get payback from them. So there's stuff going on like that. But yeah, so with Ellie or with Sim Sensei, we haven't done like an analysis. She's, as you said, like she feels like she's kind of like trying to get stuff from you. Yeah.
Yeah, so next up, I just wanted to talk about how, like, it's not just about all the verbal and non-verbal aspects to it, right? Like, this is actually a conversation. So, like humans, we sort of like build rapport first, then we sort of dive into the conversation, and we do things, right? So, similarly, we want the virtual human to do the same thing. So, the main purpose of this is like applications in, as I told you, applications in like clinical and mental institutions and things like that. So So like you can't just directly start off with the main topic because you want the person to be like more close to you. So the first phase is called the rapport building phase. So where you don't ask anything concrete, you just want to make like small talk. You want to just make the other person comfortable. Just like in normal interviews, right? If you are attending, say, interview, if you are interviewed by Google or something, so initially they'll ask you, okay, how are you, or what are your projects, and then they dive in. So it's exactly like that. So the next phase is the concrete stuff. It's the clinical phase. So where you actually ask questions which matter the most. So you ask things like, when was the last time you felt really happy? So this is the major chunk of the conversation. This is the essence of it. So but in the end, like the person who is interacting with the virtual human might feel low, and like he might feel depressed or things like that. So you want to build, you want to get him back to the stage where he was initially. So like I'm just calling it as a reset to positive phase. So you just ask things like, what are you more proud of? So that's a positive thing, right? That can never be negative. So yeah, that's what this thing is. So like I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this video, but I just want to show this in the context of whatever we have discussed today.
Yeah, maybe we don't have to show it too much. I'm pretty sure everybody's done.
You can't get out. I think this came out.
Sorry about this.
Maybe finish without the slides. Running out of time.
Okay.
Alright,
So in that video, like you can see the different aspects. Right? One is the gaze which is there on the user. So it is similar to what the paper says, calls it as CERT. So basically, you'll analyze the features from this thing. You'll see if the person is sad, if he's looking down or things like that, and the virtual human will respond based on it. And the other part is like I told you, it does small talk. It asks where were you born? Which city are you from? So the person says he's from LA. So the virtual human says, oh, even I'm from LA. So it's sort of building the small talk. And later on, it comes to the concrete questions, and it sort of asks you like what are the problems he is dealing with this life, and so it gets the feedback from it. and towards the end, it sort of builds back the this thing like I discussed above. Yeah, and the next up is Jay.
Just remember that. I'll just. Yeah, so I'll just go directly into the experiments. So they had like. Still not working. Okay. Yeah, so they had like 239 participants between the age of 18 and 65. And there were like two types of systems. So first was teleoperated and second was fully automatic virtual humans. So teleoperated is something like a human is controlling how a virtual human is going to react to anything. So it just tells you like, so a human's gonna tell the virtual human that, okay, now it's a good time to give a feedback question, or it's a good time to just just give some nonverbal behavior or something like that. And a fully automatic is like you don't do anything. It automatically does. Human doesn't have to do anything for it to carry out any thing. So what they did was like they just randomly assigned the participants to either a teleoperated or a fully automated virtual human, and then they wanted to see like what happened. In which case people tend to give out more information. So, yeah, so the participants were randomly assigned to one of the systems. Yeah, to measure this, they had like, they asked everyone to, after the interaction was over, they asked everyone to like fill out the questionnaires, and which had question which tries to measure like, what was the fear of revealing information, and then they were also recorded, and then they used system like CERT, which you talked about, which is like computer recognition, expression recognition system, which just tries to quantify the emotion of this, like the sentiment of sadness, because their intuition behind it is that if a guy doesn't know anyone else, it's hard for them to just be sad. If a person is being sad, it's more it's trying to reveal some sensitive information, which is yeah. And then the other way to measure the system was they had in the graders, which were just looking at the transcripts and then they had like a few questions, and they were trying to read they were trying to see the answers of the participants and try to decide, okay, did they reveal a lot of information, or they weren't comfortable revealing information. So and then, oh yeah, I forgot to tell about this. So to train the fully automated virtual humans, they were keeping track of how, in teleoperated system, how a human in the background was making decision. And that serves as like a training data to train your fully automated virtual human. Okay, so going to the results, the participants like felt really comfortable giving out more personal information when they were interacting with fully automated virtual humans instead of teleoperated. And then when they were told that they were assigned to a teleoperated system, they were like, oh, if there wasn't a human, we would have given out more information, or like we would have been, we would be feeling better because we feel that we are not getting judged right now. Yeah. And then, yeah, so virtual humans like elicit more honest responding to the questions.
And especially in case of medical
Yeah.
things, honesty is like very important. You should never lie to your doctor, and using virtual humans, like we can sort of achieve that. So, yeah.
Yeah,
That's about
that's
it.
it.
Thank you.
Comments?
So I have a question about this paper, and so the goal in this paper, what it shows is that how much people impose, for example, in front of the virtual human, as they know that it's 100% automatic. And the other test is like people who are sitting in the other room and trying to manipulate this. But it doesn't talk about this, that how much a real person, when you're interviewing a real psychologist face to face, you're gonna enclose. It doesn't mention that at all.
Mm.
Because probably it's obvious when I'm talking to a virtual human and I don't have a face-to-face connection with someone who is controlling it. So I'm not having the ice-breaking period. I'm not having the questions are not asked from me by that person. So I don't feel comfortable. But is there any study that shows the difference between talking to a virtual human, which is 100% automatic, and a real person? How much people impose information when you're talking face-to-face to a psychologist or a medical service person?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I don't know about it, those studies. I haven't seen one. I feel the same way, actually, and maybe other people can comment on that too.
I was reading another paper related to this, which says that we just cannot rely totally, like in the medical situation, we just can't rely totally when a virtual human is diagnosing a patient, because obviously the virtual human would not be able to cross-question anything related to the problem. So it was said in that paper that always the combination of both, the diagnosis with the virtual human and with the real doctor, would be the best combination for treating a patient.
Right.
So
Yeah.
In classical Freudian therapy, you would lie on a couch and look basically up.
Yeah.
Because there are different approaches, and if you're sitting face to face, in most cases men will react differently if they're opposing somebody versus if you're sitting next to somebody. So disclosure was probably the most, you disclose the most if you have the Freudian approach of psychoanalytics and you're lying up in your own.
I like that. Yeah, the comment is also going in the direction where, so in both cases the system was fully automatic. So there was no human back there, right, that was controlling it. But I think there's also, like, always the risk that actually the system made a mistake and might have reacted, like, when you say something sad and it says, oh, that's nice. And then, like, in the one case, you're attributing this mistake to an artificial intelligence, right? Which, see you again, like you don't understand me. But it's fine, right? Like, you don't care about that too much. But if you attribute that to a human that obviously didn't pay attention to what you just said, right? That is a very different problem. Like, there's a very different mistake attribution, and like, I think that is also one of the reasons why the Wizard of Oz condition, or like the Wizard of Oz, was perceived as more negative, or as less like inviting to tell stories. So I think you're like spot on with the comment that like you should have compared it to a real human. Also, but yeah, hasn't been done yet.
I think it also depends from person to person the way they will behave in front of a virtual human as well, because at the end it's a computer.
Right.
And even then there is a fear of like, maybe it is recording me, or maybe like at the back of it, it's getting stored somewhere. So what's the difference between, like, if I'm talking to a real person, it's getting stored in his memory, but in this case it's actually getting stored somewhere. So where is the privacy?
If you see the video, the sensei, initially she'll tell this is totally secure.
But you don't know, right?
You too.
It's like its computer is saying something to you, but at the back of it has a lot of processing and everything, and it may or may not. And at the end, humans are the ones who are controlling the machines as
Next
well.
group, please set up. Thanks.
That's
I
true.
guess it depends on how valuable the person is.
You want to have got trained to this virtual, right? So, and human mind to get trained.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the future we'll become comfortable with that, because this will happen so much that we will just become normally will be a thing of how we evolve with being connected with virtual environments.
The wake up scene. It's like toilet flush.
yeah, it's like water flowing.
And you are? Oh, okay. Got it. Sorry for that. And you don't have to do like full 25 minutes. We're running out of time anyways. All right. So we have the second group or group person, Shrikant.
Hi, so I'm Stefan, and we'll be discussing the second paper which studied mimicry and a model for mimicry, like how people and why people mimic. So mimicry is basically the action of imitating someone or something for generally in terms of to gain something. And this is there's one video here.
Of course, if you don't know, please, Jon Snow on Game of Thrones.
Is it on a different screen? With VGA now? Shouldn't it work with the HDMI?
Yeah.
Yeah. No more Linux machines, please.
So anyway, so this video was basically Jon Snow, Kit Harington had come on Jimmy Kimmel, and there were three guys which were imitating and mimicking him. And so one of these guys, he already had many videos mimicking all various Game of Thrones character, and he did it live on Jimmy Kimmel. And at the end of this, like this was after end of season 5, so he got a role for say 15 or 20 seconds in season 6 of Game of Thrones after this video went viral. And yeah, so I have one question for you, like what are the types of mimicry and when would you mimic people, or why would you do that? And the paper also tries to address these two issues, like how it does and why it does, but what do you think might be some other reasons?
Mocking.
Mocking.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
For example, in a situation when the person is sad, you want to imitate the same kind of emotions. Like you can't laugh at that point when the person is expressing his sad emotions.
To express what?
Empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah.
But it's not that we do this voluntarily. In the studies on autistic people show that the control over it,
Yeah.
that we do that involuntarily, and if we lack control over it, it's perceived wrongly.
There are these mirror neurons which have been studied.
Yeah, those are interesting. Yeah.
About psychopaths. They don't have the
So we can say like
Those are psychopaths, that's such an interesting area.
Also Machiavellianism.
Yeah.
So this is
So
sort
the
of
dark
their,
triad, right?
their idea or motivation, what they say, like it's like you use it for your own social advancement or increasing your social status. And I mean, I think like sometimes it can become a disadvantage where you mimic someone and it might, if you do it too much, they might find it creepy, especially like, so there are many factors when you mimic one. So beyond social gaze, you have your group. So if you don't know someone very well, you won't make them, or in your group you can use it just for laughter or making some jokes. So this is this paper generally talked about unconscious mimicry, where it's controlled by the cortex, but in terms of the actor mimicking Jon Snow, you can say that it's conscious mimicry, where he's doing that, and that can, I mean, I don't think that generally has a negative effect when they're doing it consciously. So the next aspect of this mimicry was how it actually works, the unconscious mimicry, and they sort of spoke about mirror neural systems, where you have input to the prefrontal cortex, and which basically learns decisions from the input and actions, and it sends this recommendation or response to the mirror neural system, and which acts on this recommendation based on their storm model. So this is a case of associative sequence learning, where you learn from previous actions in sensory inputs, previous actions, and results from the previous actions, and you act when you have a new situation or new input. Then I have one more question, like, so this experiment, we will use the SRC paradigm, and it concentrated on eye gaze as one of the parameters which affects social mimicry, and how we modulate, how we sort of enhance or inhibit mimicry. What other factors do you think can affect mimicry, like beyond eye gaze?
So in a social group, right, when you have a set of people interacting, the mimicry, you'll always pause. So I've read about where you always mimic the alpha of the group, or whom you consider as the alpha of the group. Right? So that's another factor. So when you have a group of people, the person whom you're trying to mimic might be different.
I just want to add something, how important mimicry is. Apparently, that's a core of our ability to have civilization, because we also learn how to use tools, and the spread of tools is really a reason we have civilization, but also a result of having mirror neurons. And I think it's
interesting,
because there are a couple of components. One is social, and one is almost utilitarian, right? How we learn other stuff. And they work on a same network.
Yeah. So might say age affect the degree of control over mimicry, like young children and adults. I mean, young children generally mimic their parents a lot, and they don't have much control, but as you grow, we learn to control. So, but I don't think this experiment mentioned about the age group or the people who were there in the participants, the number of participants in this experiment. And so, how do we validate this result without? So I mean, they've given, like, when you're looking at the eye gaze, your response time is faster than when there's no eye gaze, but we don't have the other information which might affect, right? So if it's done in a group, mimicry has a different effect. When you're watching a video, in this case, it's a different effect. The age of the group, the people in the group might also change. So the storm model basically said that
It's fun. Full of computer scientists struggles technology.
Today's not a video day.
I think it's
Today's not the video day.
not only that, we have to call technical support.
Right, that's all right. Today's just not a video day.
Yep.
So it's just sometimes.
so this paper in the end sort of concluded, like implied that this can be used to study autism, but it just made a hypothesis that the prefrontal cortex or control is absent in terms of autistic people, but it came back picking up with this. So, but the same people published another paper in 2016. I didn't read it completely, but I just read the conclusions in this. So it said that the gaze, so it did the same SRC experiment on 80 people, both non-autistic, or what you call neurotypical people, and autistic people, 80 autistic people, or adults, and found that they have an effect on, so gaze has an effect on mimicry in autistic people, where their response time in both cases reduces in mimicking. so they do detect, autistic people do detect gaze and all this stuff, but they can't control it. So they couldn't sort of say differentiate between congruent and incongruent tasks, which is for like in normal autistic people there was a difference in the response time. So it's sort of confirmed that the prefrontal cortex is basically responsible for controlling mimicry.
So I'd like to also bring to the discussion a little bit like what we had in the previous group's paper and this paper. And so now that we kind of know that humans involuntarily through different processes like social like desirability or even like mirror neurons or whatever, we mimic and we show empathy and change our behavior. And like if we bring that back with the virtual human for screening, like does anybody like want to make some suggestions or like ideas like what could be good and what could be bad about like having a real human interview?
Symmetric behavior is generally considered good. So like for example, if you sit in a symmetric position with a person, generally humans do that. I mean, if you are a few papers back, there was a picture that the two people were sitting on a railway thing. So if a virtual human will kind of portray a very symmetric posture, it would be considered maybe, depending on the situation, can be considered good as well.
So you can use mimicry to...
You can mimic posture as well.
I remember one of the videos, I think we showed that in our discussion session, like where the virtual agent, there was a comparison between two virtual agents. One was without any expression, basically it was mainly about the emotions, but what the virtual agent was doing was mimicking the person. So when the person is talking about something happy and like moving a lot and head nods and this, that and all, so the virtual agent's head was also doing the same thing. And people tend to relate more to that virtual agent, and they consider him more friendly, and they were able to make more rapport. So it's more like analyzing your facial expression, your body language, and then trying to come up with something like that.
So you can build rapport through mimicry as well, right? But then here's another, like, there's also a caveat to this, right? So if you have a real human interacting with a real human, and so both of them bring their mood, their affect, their social status, their gender or whatever to the table, right? They influence each other's behaviors, they change each other's behaviors. So if you're screening for depression and you have real human interviews and you want to compare the behavior of the person that you interviewed and the person that maybe another person or you interviewed 2 weeks later with each other, are you able to like draw the line directly? Can you remove that from like the context of the dyad? Or do you need to model the interaction as well to understand, like first, did I influence the person, did the person influence me, like what was the reaction to that? So that's another reason why we're using virtual humans, because they never bring their attitude or their mood to the table. They always do what we want them to do.
But is it a positive or a negative? Like,
That they don't?
I think it should be there to some extent, because whenever we are trying to converse and we are trying to bring virtual human to some level of being a companion to us, that is what like our research is going to be eventually. So in that case, there should be something like I believe there should be some of that element where they are bringing something to the table. So that way,
Yeah, I think so too. To some degree, yeah.
There's a bit of a danger. So if you overdo it, they will come across as autistic. And that's, and with the state that we are right now, it's probably better there. Apparently, if we have a better control on mimicry, we are perceived as less autistic.
Okay.
So generally, if you want to say have an argument with the virtual human, and the virtual human is trying to mimic you, I don't think that, that might not come across as very realistic. So when it comes to versatility of the virtual human's personality, that could get affected by how much or how less the virtual human is.
Cool. All right. Thank you.